Exciting gunfight. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the dusty streets of Dusty Gulch. The small frontier town was an unlikely cradle of lawlessness, where tensions simmered between rival factions. At the heart of it all was Jake "Iron" McGraw, a notorious gunslinger known for his quick draw and even quicker temper. Jake leaned against the weathered wooden post of the saloon, nursing a whiskey. His rugged face bore the marks of countless skirmishes, and his piercing blue eyes scanned the street with a mix of vigilance and boredom. He had heard whispers of a gang led by the infamous outlaw, Red Sam, who was rumored to be in town for a score that could shake Dusty Gulch to its core. As the sun sank lower, the saloon doors swung open, and a group of rough-looking men sauntered out, their laughter echoing in the evening air. Red Sam was among them, a tall man with a shock of fiery red hair and a reputation for ruthlessness. Jake's grip tightened around his glass as he watched them head toward the livery stable. He knew trouble was brewing, and he wasn't about to let it boil over. With a determined stride, Jake pushed himself off the post and followed the gang, his boots crunching on the gravel. He had always been a lone wolf, but the stirring sense of justice propelled him forward. Dusty Gulch needed a protector, and if no one else would step up, he would. As he approached the livery, he overheard snippets of conversation that confirmed his fears. The gang was planning to rob the bank the next morning, and they were laying low until nightfall. Jake felt a surge of adrenaline. He needed to act now if he wanted to thwart their plan. He ducked into an alleyway, pulling out his Colt .45 revolver and checking the ammunition. The gun felt familiar in his hand, a reliable companion that had seen him through many a gunfight. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest, and made his way to the back of the livery. The stable was dimly lit, shadows dancing across the walls as the gang members huddled around a table, counting their ill-gotten gains. Jake peered through a crack in the door, weighing his options. He could burst in guns blazing, but he needed to be strategic. He needed to draw them out, away from the safety of the stable where they felt untouchable. With a swift movement, Jake threw a rock against the side of the building, creating a loud clatter. The gang members jerked their heads toward the sound, eyes narrowing in suspicion. Red Sam stood up, his hand instinctively moving to the gun at his hip. "What was that?" he growled, his voice low and dangerous. "Go check it out," one of the men suggested, his voice laced with unease. Jake held his breath as one of the gang members stepped outside to investigate. This was his chance. He slipped through the door and into the shadows of the stable, positioning himself behind a stack of hay bales, his heart racing. A moment later, the gang member stepped back inside, shaking his head. "Nothing out there, just a raccoon or something." Red Sam's frustration boiled over. "You're all worthless. We need to get this done. The longer we wait, the more likely someone will catch on." Jake's mind raced. He had to act before they could solidify their plan. He decided to confront them now, while they were still disorganized. Gathering his courage, he stepped out from behind the hay bales. "Not so fast, gentlemen," he called out, his voice steady and commanding. The gang turned, surprise etched on their faces. Red Sam's mouth curled into a sneer as he recognized the infamous gunslinger. Well, if it isn't Jake McGraw. What's the matter? Got a death wish? Jake's eyes narrowed as he raised his revolver, aiming it directly at Red Sam. You're not going to rob that bank? Not if I have anything to say about it. Laughter erupted from the gang, but Red Sam's expression soured. You think you can take us all on alone? Jake didn't hesitate. I'm counting on it. With that, the tension snapped like a taut wire. Red Sam reached for his gun, but Jake was faster. The sharp crack of gunfire rang out, echoing through the stable. Jake's bullet found its mark, hitting one of the gang members squarely in the shoulder. He let out a howl of pain and crumpled to the ground. Chaos erupted as the remaining gang members scrambled for their guns. Jake ducked behind a wooden post, firing again as bullets whizzed past him. The familiar rush of adrenaline coursed through his veins, sharpening his senses. He could hear the frantic shouts of the gang as they tried to regroup. Get him! Red Sam shouted, his voice filled with rage. Don't let him get away! Jake's mind raced as he strategized on the fly. He knew he couldn't stay in one place for too long. He darted to the side, using the cover of the stable to his advantage. He fired again, this time hitting a barrel that exploded, sending splinters flying and creating a cloud of dust. Amidst the chaos, Jake caught a glimpse of Red Sam, who was now seeking cover behind a pile of crates. The gang was starting to panic, realizing they were outmatched by the lone gunslinger. Come on, boys. We can take him. Red Sam yelled, though his voice was losing its confidence. Jake seized the opportunity. He moved swiftly, taking out another gang member before they could react. The sound of gunfire mingled with the shouts and cries of alarm, creating a cacophony that echoed through the night. Finally, with only 2 gang members left standing, Jake felt a surge of determination. He stepped out from his cover, revolver aimed at Red Sam. You're done, Sam. Surrender now, and maybe I'll let you walk away. Red Sam's bravado crumbled as he assessed the situation. His gang was in disarray, and he was outnumbered. With a grimace, he raised his hands in surrender. All right. We give up. Breathing heavily, Jake approached, keeping his gun trained on Red Sam. You and your gang are going to leave this town and never come back. If I see you again, it won't end well for you. As the remaining gang members dropped their weapons, the tension began to dissipate. The adrenaline that had fueled Jake's actions slowly ebbed away, leaving him with a sense of satisfaction. He had protected Dusty Gulch, and for now, peace had been restored. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the town, Jake stood outside the livery, watching as the defeated gang members were led away. He felt the weight of his choices settle on his shoulders, but he also felt a renewed sense of purpose. In the heart of the frontier, amidst the dust and danger, Jake McGraw had proven once again that one man could stand against the tide of lawlessness. And as long as he held his ground, Dusty Gulch would remain a place where justice could prevail.